Hello guys, as usual I'm going to speak for a few seconds to just get feedback from you guys saying the volume is fine, that you can see me, hear me clearly, and I don't need to be any louder than this and the rest of it. And once that signs off, then we'll jump in and discuss how to prepare starting now. So I'm going to mostly give a very broad outline for like 5-10 minutes, but spend most of my time taking questions. And we've done quite a few sessions where we do section by section, bit by bit, blob by blob. Let's have some fun. Let's throw some questions and we'll discuss them. Obviously, I won't have all the answers. Obviously, I might not even have thought about a bunch of these, but let's shoot the breeze and see if we can have some fun discussing CAD preparation. Fine. Wonderful, guys. I'm going to just check out the chat window. Just want to hear a few people saying, hey, this volume is fine. Video is fine. All good video and audio. That's lovely. That's lovely. And so I can hear that. I can see that very clearly. Which is good. So I'm going to start off giving you, now the CAT notification is out, so we know that the exam is going to be conducted, or at least fingers crossed. Everybody, including the people conducting the exam, expect the exam to be conducted on November 29th. And so that's lovely. So it's good to have. I think they've done this predominantly or primarily to say November 29th is blocked off from other exams. So every other exam can anchor itself around that, so that exam dates don't clash. They're not kidding themselves. The IMs are very savvy, very clear. They want to give clarity. And so there's no point saying, don't they know the reality? Don't they know that COVID could take another 6 months? Of course they do. And so, which is why they've given a suitable caveat saying that the central government and state government directives being what they are, it should happen. So I'm assuming that the social distancing norms will be satisfied. If things stay as they are, we will probably have way more centers. TCS is the guy who conducts the exam. They have the wherewithal to conduct exams where 10x the number of people are taking it. So they should be able to manage it. So they'll probably have way more centers in probably more cities and towns because people can't travel. So they would have accounted for that. That's what I'm thinking. So we have that certainty. So where does it leave us? Prepare really well. Make sure that you throw in a lot in the next few months. Only 4 months remaining now, so things get stuff gets serious now. To make sure that you use every little bit you can scrounge here and there to prepare for the exam. And so it is. I saw one question: is it possible? Can we get 100% if you're preparing for 4 months? Most definitely yes. And so, but this is one of those global questions. I can obviously say, yeah, most definitely yes. I have to say that. And so, but hand on heart, I can tell you that this is not an impossible exam. This is not a genius testing exam. It's a regular exam. You put your head down. You should have a good crack at a good target. And so it's very doable, very crackable, but also intensely competitive. And 2 lakh people are taking this exam, of which some 10,000 are really good. Within that, some 1,000 are fantastically good. And so they're intelligent. They've written exams like this, cracked them. They've prepared well for this exam. They're game ready. There are 1,000 such people. So you can take it for granted that the scramble for 99.5 plus percentile is going to be intense. You want to get into the top 3 colleges, you've got to be ready to mix with them. And so keep that in mind. So everything is possible. You can prepare. You can put your head down and do it. But it is still an intensely competitive exam. I'm going to look at questions now and then take questions straight away. Fine. So one question, just very interesting. Fine. There was one question on how to handle boredom. And so mix it up. I used to have this issue when I had to do a bunch of questions from topics. I would find a few of them really easy. My mind would crave the hit of the tougher questions. And so you do percentages and profit and loss. There's nothing on a question by question basis to push you, but your mind wants a challenge. Your mind wants to tackle the really juicy, wonderful, dicey, phenomenal, challenging, something that can push you type of question. So you gravitate towards the tougher and tougher bits to kill your boredom. The odd time when you're exploring and fooling around and trying that's fine, but stay within your band of difficulty. Create your release clauses in other ways. So you've got to say, okay, I'm going to set aside 1 hour. I'll do 10 questions from quant, 1 DLR puzzle and 1 RC, and crank up intensity to see if you can hang in there without having a concentration drop. So if Bharat sends across a 2000 word article, he take a deep breath and said, again, Bharat, 2000 words, what do you think of us? This alone will take, even if I sat in one stretch and read, it will take 20 minutes. Throughout the day today, I'll finish this. Fine. Sometimes I tell myself that. So I know how the feeling is. But you can tell yourself, without a single time dropping off this passage, I'm going to do the whole thing. Right, so you can create your artificial markers like that. If you prepare well, you prepare with intensity, you know a good place to, some place to work, to benchmark yourself, you're good to go. Boredom should not be an issue. Reconstruct your questions, your targets like that. Right. Want to see. There was one other question on how to. It's challenging to prepare while you're working. Of course it is. Right, so, my boss Bhaskar never tires of telling the story. He's a graduate from an engineering college in Chennai, one of the best, CG Gindi. He finished, I think, in 91. And then he wrote a scat. He even went as far as he bought a bike to attend classes. At least he told his parents that he needs a bike to attend classes. God knows what he did, because he got the bike. When he's a final year college student, he would have done N things. Quite obviously, he didn't attend all the classes. And Cat, he already had a job, a fantastic job from L&T on a platter handed over to him. He was a mechanical engineer from here in 1991. L&T is as good as it gets. And so he was thrilled beyond bits. So obviously the intensity to prepare for Cat quite wasn't there. So he let it go. He was posted with L&T in Mumbai. And then he had a 1.5 hour commute to and fro each way on Mumbai local trains. I'm sure most of you know how they are. And then he saw his life. So he knew that his boss's boss had been there with L&T for, I don't know, for 22 years. And he was doing pretty much the same stuff. The youngster, L&T is a wonderful company, but if you're not into it, if you don't completely love what you're doing, it's one of those, it's a quasi-government agency in some form. And he flipped out. So he prepared on the electric train. He prepared late into the night, early in the morning, cracked Cat, and then went to IMCal. You've got to do what you've got to do. Write it down, stick it somewhere, write it on a wall. Some people get stuff naturally. They're brilliant. It just occurs to them. Stuff just falls in place for them. For some of us, you need to do the drill and the practice and the gearing up to do. There's enormous joy to be found in gritting through stuff. So if you're having a job, that is absolutely no excuse. Right? So if you have the ambition, you can't have the ambition and not be able to put the time in. You can't have $1 million dream and a minimum wage work ethic. It's a famous quote. You can't have that. And so carve out a schedule for yourself. Wake up early in the morning or do late in the night. And for me, early morning works a charm. So I get fresh and happy about 3-4 minutes after I've woken up. Honestly, I don't need to sprinkle water. I don't need coffee, tea. The one thing I love to do is if I could rejig my work schedule and I didn't have other constraints, I would start work at 5:30. And then I would wake up at 5:28, 27, and I would start work. I can spring up and start working. If I'm preparing for an exam, that's my best window. 5:30 to 7:30 or 7 when others are not yet buzzing and I have the whole place to myself. I love that. I know people for whom 8 a.m. is a dark place. For our own Bharat, if he sees 5 a.m., it's from the other way around. He's still awake. He's not gone to bed. Fine. So people are built differently, but have some discipline. Make sure that you hit one time slot day after day after day, where inspiration can't take you, discipline can take you there. That's very important. Very often we look for some glorious motivational speech from somebody, and the motivational speech is like a dopamine hit. It gives you one hit. It kicks you start. It gets you kick started. But like a morphine hit, if you keep looking for a morphine hit, the dosage has to keep going up, and that's why they stay away from morphine or equivalent drugs for a long time for even long suffering patients. Because once you're on the treadmill, you'll need more and more for your body to react. Exactly same way motivational pep talks and inspirational talks work. Somebody can pick you up. Suppose you look at this video and then you feel, look, brilliant. 2IM is doing such a great job telling us all to prepare and go for it. And And so, and I can look at you, stare at you, and say, "You can do it. Come on, this is in your hands." And you feel like, "Yeah, great." And then tomorrow, if your mind sags and you come back to the channel, you'll be like, "Dude, you said this yesterday." Fine. So, a running joke in our office is one of those videos which we do, preparation strategy from August. Preparation strategy from June, July, August, September, all pretty much the same. Focus on basics, do the drill, take a few mocks, you're ready to go. Don't let your hopes fall, hang in there. And so there's nothing dramatically different. And so if your motivation hit comes from somebody giving you a speech or a pep talk, it's good. But you've got to use it as a hit once in a while. You can't keep looking for a hit every other day. Your hit level keeps on going. So whoever is inspiring you has to bend over backward to get you to go brush your teeth. And it kind of breaks out after that. So, but discipline, routine, schedule, habit, those are magical words. And so either early morning or late night, do that. And scrounge. Now is a good time to start hustling. You get 10 minutes. You're sitting in a dentist thing. You're waiting for the doctor. You're waiting for your appointment. Pick up the 2 AM question bank. Hit it. You have a mobile. You're on the app. You're good to go. And so wherever you can scrounge and hustle, do that. And wherever you can create a routine and schedule, get that. It's very, very, very crucial to have a routine and schedule now. Now, especially compared to starting in Jan, now it's more or less a sprint. 120 days, you can count it down and kill it off. And it's not a 1 year preparation plan. It's hardly a 100-day preparation plan. And now is the time to shut off other nonsense. And so you want to be the hyperactive WhatsApp admin or a keyboard warrior or someone who participates in moral outrage and all that. All that is guff. And so you learn, you do your basics, you go places. You want to contribute to your economy, you want to contribute to your nation, you want to be a fierce patriot, work, earn, pay taxes. And so if you pay copious taxes, that is far more effective for the country than any amount of outrage you can pour over different government policies or political nonsense on any platform. And so don't get carried away by these notional cul-de-sacs which just suck you in. And then you get nothing out of it, and you'll just end up either peeved or bitter. It doesn't matter. So remember that a bunch of these platforms are monetizing your outrage. It is in their interest to have you angry, and so don't get worked up over many things. Put your head down, work in an island, get things done. And so I'm going to go back and see some questions. Is it worth preparing for WAT right now? Not, totally not. Worry about CAT, worry about everything else after that. Your current affairs, interview, group discussion, written assessment test, all of that. On the day CAT gets over, take 4 days off and then start for that. And how many mocks should you look for? 2025 is a good number. It takes you about 3, 4, 5 mocks to get a hang of mocks. And then mock scores actually jump up, hit a plateau, jump up, hit a plateau, jump up, hit a plateau. From one plateau to the next, that climb is where you have figured out something, or your mind has internalized a few things, it's ready to accept new tricks. And so you will have to find the wherewithal and grit to go from one plateau to the next relentlessly. So 2025 is a good number. Some go crazy and do 70, 75. That's absurd, not required. There is a marginal utility fall off for even mocks. The value of the mocks comes in the review, comes in the analysis. If you take back-to-back mocks but you don't bother to review it, it's pointless. Fine. So our own Arvind made a very clear point in this video where he was very clear. He said he would take a mock for 3 hours and few mocks he would analyze for more than 5-6 hours. Mocks have the best questions. So be anal about analyzing the mocks well and taking value from them. So be very particular about that. Be very, very keen to take that value. If you spend 3 hours to write a mock, you should review it for at least 3 hours. Keep that in mind. And so 20 to 25 is a good number. If you're very hard pressed for time, go for 15. 40 is a reasonable upper bound. More than that, you're overcooking it. How much focus on NMAT given that it's before CAT? Look, they're not wildly, dramatically different exam. Most of the preparation is common. Take a few more NMAT mocks before the exam. You're good to go. Is it possible to target to get 99 percentile in 120 days. Definitely, you can get 100 percentile if you prepare well. And so upwards of 99.5, the climb is ridiculously tough. 99.5 to 100 is a 40% improvement in score, or not a 40%, but 25 to 30% improvement in score. Remember, 99.5 is tough. And from there, 99.9 or 100 percentile is a 30% plus improvement. It's only half a percentile point, but it's 30% plus improvement to get there. So it's tough. So obviously it's tough. So, but 99th percentile is more of an achievable target starting now. Don't go chasing a target and the number of attempts and going gung-ho in the exam, but make sure that you have the fundas to give yourself a chance. 60 overall score to 145 in mocks. Any tips? We'll come to that. I'm just going to go back to anything else that's sitting there in terms of that. Anyway, that's a good idea. 60 overall to 145. See, to getting up, whenever you're taking up a plan for your mock, your overall score, and you say, look, I want to get 145. There are two ways to go about it. One is, look, I need to get a 50, 50, 50 or thereabouts, and that's my target, that's my plan. Or you have a killer section, and so you can take a 70 for granted in a section. So you are your quant strong or verbal strong or DLR strong. So for all my targets, I used to have an obscenely high benchmark for quant. Quant is my strength. I'm naturally happy with quant. These days, more recently, I've become way more comfortable in VRCC, but traditionally my strength was always quant. So if I wanted X marks, I would look at the total marks available for quant and leave and say, look, I should get everything right. Maybe 2-3 questions I won't get right, and set the bar that high. For me, nailing a paper means killing quant. It's like the Indian cricket team chasing a target of 340, 330 and then saying, look, we know how to do this. There are a couple of spinners there. We'll tonk them for 100, 100. The other 3 we can get the remaining from. So you should know one way to go about it is to build and continuously tweak and drill and have a killer section. If you have that, then you should set a bar very high for that, for speed, accuracy, the total coverage. You cannot say quant is my strength and then say I'm somewhat weak in exponents and logarithm, trigonometry, and a little bit in set theory. That doesn't work. If it's your strength, then you're looking to attempt 32, 33 questions. You should take it to that level. That's one way to go about it, to get your 140, 145. 70 comes from one section. Then you're playing more of a balanced game for the other two, and then it becomes an easily achievable target. Or you're saying I'm getting 50, 50, 50, in which case you have to plan slightly differently. And so keep that in mind. And so 145 is a good target. Don't go completely target backwards. Go input variable forwards. Tell yourself I'm going to read so much, I'm going to solve so many puzzles, handle so many questions, and get geared so that I get naturally better towards that a higher percentile. Don't say I want to get to Ahmedabad, so I need to have 99.7 percentile. For 99.7 percentile, I need to have 190 score. For getting 190, my strategy would be 60, 60, 70. For getting 70 in quant, I have to attempt 30 questions. Next mock CAT, I'm attempting 30 questions. That doesn't work. That could be a tough mock. You could go attempt 30 and end up getting turned over because of lack of accuracy. If you say, look, I want to do all this, that means I'll have to prepare a lot. I'll do 1,000 questions in the next month. Now that is an input variable target, which is glorious. Go for that. Don't work backwards from your ambition. Go upwards from your effort. And so your target should be achieved kind of incidentally, and you should not be working backwards and then saying, okay, so I need to attempt 30. I've seen students do it every single year. They always say, I want 99, so I should be attempting this much now. I find myself struggling hard to not give a rubbishing away answer, because it's ambitions and dreams that we're talking about. So I try to tell myself, look, I can't rubbish them away, but I have to wind my head around saying, look, that is not the way to go about it. Don't work backwards to set yourself a question number target. Not worth it. Fine. Is it okay to skip probability and permutation combination completely? It's very skippable. It's standalone. It does not derive dependency for something else. You get 2 questions tops. You can get nearly 100 percentile without that. Totally nice skippable topic. I do mock analysis for the whole week in small chunks. Is it okay? Look, mock analysis, very interesting. Mock analysis has multiple components. One is your strategy of what question selection, intensity, and all that. That has to happen immediately after the exam. That's when it's fresh. Stuff is fresh. Why did I take this decision? Otherwise, your mind will rationalize it. You'd have skipped a question and you'll say, that is indeed tough. Or you'd have got sucked into one question and say, oh, that's what I thought. Or maybe you won't remember what are the decision-making variable that was in your mind when you were actually in the exam context. So the decision-making, strategy, question selection, those ideas, you've got to hit immediately after the mock. In terms of learning, okay, you missed out on a couple of questions in geometry because you don't know how to solve it. That gap can be filled later on. But you finish the mock and you should take away the top takeaway. That is, did I have concentration lapses? Did I make fatigue errors? Did I get sucked into wrong questions? Did I spend too much time in an LR puzzle? Those are the kind of things that you need to take a decision straight away. I'm getting quite a few questions on what are the topics to pick and select. I'm going to give you a simple algorithm or a simple sequence. You simply cannot afford to skip good old-fashioned arithmetic, and which is percentages, profit and loss, averages, speed, time, distance, ratios, mixtures, allegations, simple interest, compound interest, exponents, logarithm, these topics. Right? To this, you can possibly add some very simple algebraic topics like progressions and linear and quad. Have a good handle on this. You cannot really practice for math in any form without being good with ratios and linear equations. So have a complete grip on this. The next chunk would be geometry, trigonometry, mensuration, coordinate geometry, with geometry being the most important and the one that you need to do first. You take this spot and put it in, you're approaching 24, 23 questions, probably more. Right? After this come the two remaining chunks. One is algebra, which is a little bit of polynomials, a little bit of inequalities, functions, sequences and series, all those, identities. Right? Next, other chunk is number systems and permutation combination. So factors, factorial, reminders, powers, exponents, and permutation probability, all of that. So these two account for the last set of 10 questions. Then there's always miscellaneous, some clocks, calendar, binomial and all that. You'll always get some 1 or 2 questions, or you may or may not get, but maximum 1 or 2 questions from there. So forget about that. And so you should definitely have a handle on arithmetic. You should definitely shoot and aim and to have geometry in the back. After this, you can go towards algebra and allied topics or number systems and permutation probability. One of these two. Right? You can skip an odd trigonometry. You can skip logarithms if you're very hard pressed within a chunk, but don't leave out the major components of this. This is broadly the sequence and priority and order that I would recommend. So don't skip a major topic. Right? Don't skip basic arithmetic. Don't leave out geometry. But if you cover basic arithmetic and geometry and allied topics, you're covering 24 out of 34 questions. You're good to go. Then pick and choose 2 or 3. You're giving yourself 28, 29. That's good. Right? Wonderful. I've seen quite a few questions on DLR, especially question selection, puzzle selection, how much time should be there. And so you should have a hard number for when to dump a DLR puzzle if you're not going anywhere. And if you're moving towards another, if you've cracked it, and then you have to fill the gap, but that's going to take you 4 or 5 more minutes, that's all right. You take a DLR puzzle, and if it takes you 15-20 minutes to solve completely, that could still be all right. And in the exam, there are going to be 1 or 2 DLR sets which are solvable within 7-8 minutes. Right? Let's say there are 2 of those, and let's say you are incredibly lucky, you hit both of them. Those 2 are in the bag. 10 minutes plus 10 minutes, 20 minutes gone. And then even if it takes you 20 minutes for each set and you do 2 more, you're solving 4, and this gets you to 99.4, 99.5 percentile in DLR. Right? When you are practicing, don't be too particular about question selection. Do the tough ones also. But in a mock context, if a DLR set could take you 20 minutes, my gut feel is, even if you're saying you're in the 99.5 percentile range, it is still all right to do it. as long as you pick the 2 easy ones, definitely, then even at 20 minutes per set, you can handle 2 more. You will get better and better at question selection, but 15, 17, 18 minutes is completely fine in a mock context. But remember, 15, 18 minutes is a time you might take on November 29th. That means if you do a bunch of mocks, your speed can go up by 50-60% from today. So if today you're taking 30 minutes per set, that set is what you will take 20 minutes then. And 20 minutes is value. So a set that takes 30 minutes is also within your consideration set, within a set that you will do, within the set that you can go for. So don't dump too early. Don't say stuff is too challenging too early. And so I've seen quite a few people when you become very conscious of mocks, you become very worried about doing the really tough sets. Mocks give you a practice for how the real exam is going to be. But when you're practicing, don't leave out the really tough questions. If your material you're preparing from is good, then there's a lot of value to really learn from the tougher sets, the slightly tougher sets. So don't dump sets and topics and ideas too early. Now you have a learning advantage from that. Don't lose out on that. And so DLR, 15-18 minutes per set in the exam, still value. 30 minutes you're taking today is still value, because if you're taking 30 today, it'll go to 18 by the time it's D-Day, and 18 is good. Fine, so don't dump too early. DLR has been tough. Those sets are tough. There are no freebies in this exam. When should you dump? If you're not going anywhere, if you have not carved it open, if an idea is not falling into place, if you're still shooting in the dark, then say minute 5 or 6, leave it. Cut your losses. In DLR is the place where you can get sucked in and lose 20 minutes and get nothing out of it. That can kill your score. If you spend 17-18 minutes and get 4 questions right, that's worth gold. But if you spend 17-18 minutes and go nowhere, 1, you're not getting any mark for those 17-18 minutes, and 2, it's going to have another 4-5 minute impact in the next set where you're thinking, I should have got that right. I don't know what is missing. Your mind is still in the previous set. Fine. So like hankering after an X, that doesn't work. Fine. So you should have a hard limit for dumping a question. Is there any theory structure one must go through for LR? No. Know the very basics: percentages, share, growth rate, CAGR, and some standard arrangement puzzle, sequencing puzzle, tournament puzzle. Some standard templates are there. You'll not get a question from that, but that kind of eases you into what you're looking for. So do that. But otherwise, the more variety you have, the better it is. AIMCAT or SIMCAT, then if you've already selected one, go with that. Among the things available, my gut feel, or I've always had a mild preference for IMSs. So that is good. But otherwise, if you have one, take value from that. I've seen so many students buy mocks as if they're going out of fashion and say, I have access to 80 mocks, and then keep sharing other 80 mocks and take 4 before the exam. You have access to 12 mocks, and those 12 mocks are good. Take those damn 12 mocks and then say, maybe I'll look for one more provider. And so don't hoover up stuff as if it's going out of fashion. Not required. I've given 8 mocks. My DALR and QI percentiles are stable, but my VRC fluctuates a lot. This happened. Not just VR. Mostly the one section that fluctuates a lot is usually VRC. And so reading speed is 9, but it's troubling me a lot. A couple of things. One is it could be just randomness. VRC for 95% of the mocks is vaguer and trickier than the actual CAT. You see the actual CAT paper, the passages are lovely to read. Even today I can pick up those passages and have fun reading them. The questions are challenging but not irritating. But in mocks they do all kinds of funny things. So that could be one reason. Second reason, in VRC, you might be taking some chances. You might be answering more questions than you must. You might be not really putting fight to resolve the final 1 out of 2 choices. You might end up taking a chance that you should not be taking, especially in VRC. Score volatility is directly linked to accuracy. And so someone who's generally has an accuracy of 90% will have a narrow band of scores. Someone who generally has an overall accuracy of 70%. If you have 70%, fine, so don't get me wrong, that means on a good day it will be 92%. On a bad day it will be 50%. I mean, you have 1 in 2 chance. Right? So that is nothing. That means your score can meaningfully go from 50 to 90. If you add the idea that there are negative marks, the range is even broader. And so your volatility comes in when accuracy goes for a toss. So put a Bhayankar fight to bring accuracy into the fold. Slow down, get stuff right, read slowly, look for detail, be anal about points and details, be particular about resolving that final bit of confusion between the last two choices. The more you train your mind to say, hey, this is an objective exam, there's only one right answer. There is some ground that is going to be there to eliminate one of the two choices. Let me read these two choices again. The more you train yourself to say that, to slow down, to be anal, to be particular, the better your accuracy gets. Hang in there and make sure your accuracy amps up. Weightage to number systems has been reducing for 3 years now. Yes, we've been crying hoarse about that. Number systems is not half as important a topic as we thought it was or it used to be. And so spend time on basic arithmetic, then on geometry, number systems and allied topics, that is number system, permutation, probability put together, probably 5 questions. Same for inequalities, functions, basic algebra, quadratic equations, tougher batch sequences. So the algebra plus, again 5 questions. These two form the last 10 questions. You cover 24 questions worth syllabus, attempt 23 of them, get 22 right. You're talking about high 99s. You can leave these two giant chunks and get 99.5 percentile in quant. So number theory is only, it is important to that extent. We've not had a question from reminders in this millennium. And so don't overcook number theory. How many passages can be skipped for VRC? VRC these days is not reading speed dependent. And if you get 6 passages worth 24 questions, and if you say, look, the dicey sentence rearrangement, para-jumble is not a big priority. I'm not so keen on attempting all of those because it's theta anyway. I'm taking a chance. Then a good, comfortable reader, someone who reads naturally, will automatically find himself or herself saying, look, 5 passages though I can read, I have enough time. It's not a time pressure exam. And so don't prepare for VRC from the point of view of reading stuff quickly. And so don't get carried away reading quickly. The bigger challenge I've seen many people face and not really come out of it is to learn to read slower. And so read slower, take it all in, make sure that you don't have to keep reading and rereading a passage. I think Bharadwaj mentioned this in the podcast equivalent thing that we did. You should read a passage slow enough and well enough that you don't see yourself demanding, your mind requiring another iteration. And there's one other topic, one freely question that caught my fancy. In games and tournaments, only games are coming. I don't even understand that question. And so, you have a funny story. One student called me up and said, I've covered everything mostly, but some confusion is there in how to plan. In this topic, I've done all questions from permutations. Now only combinations are remaining. I was like, you take that book and burn it. Whichever book is teaching permutation and then combination should be burnt. Right? So I don't even know the distinction between games and tournaments. I'm not trying to be patronizing. I'm not meaning to put you down. There is no basis for any of these comments. And so only games are coming, only tournaments are coming. These kind of statements are mostly made by people who have not taken this exam. The guys who know this exam, who take this, who understand what it is, will not make a distinction between games and tournaments. So they're sitting here, people are providing a service to students saying, okay, I'll train you for this. Think about it. I'm part of the industry. Very often it is in my interest to complicate this and escalate it to one incredibly tough level. And then I give you the key to open this exam. Truth is, this exam is not that complicated. If you take the question and suppose I don't tell you it's a games and tournament question, chances are you read it, you find it interesting and you solve it and crack it. You don't, some of these definitions and acronyms and anagrams, they fly like anything. So because of that, the rules and acronyms and this wordplay ideas have all been thrown in. And so don't fall prey to all of that. I don't think anybody reasonable is going to classify a question and say these are games questions, those are tournament questions. There's no such distinction. Don't get carried away, don't get sucked into those hyper definitions which somebody has created in order to elevate this exam. By any industry gets spiced up if you have sufficient jargon. I cannot tell you prepare for quant, DLR, VRCC and prepare well, learn from basics. You'll go places. You'll be like, dude, I'm sitting here in the middle of the night listening to some preparation strategy and you're giving me the bleeding obvious. Suppose I tell you, learn this mantra, do that thing. These are the 4 thumb rules. Those 3 instructions will take you places. 2 ideas and you're rocking from here to 99 in your hands. It makes me feel nice. It's like I'm withholding something and juicing up, spicing up whatever I'm saying. All these have been created with that agenda. Don't worry about it. Don't overcomplicate things. WorkX of coaching institutions, business development manager really helps in interviews. It is not going to help in any bhayankar way. A job is a job. If you're able to outline your job really well, if you're working in a big brand, if you're working at McKinsey, then that counts for something. If you're working at RBI, that counts for something. If you're working for a coaching institute, if you've really led a bhayankar transformation and you can talk meaningfully about your job, that's brilliant. But if you say I've worked at Time or CL, then the chances are you took a few classes, you hung around there, or at least that's the assumption they're going to make. It's not business development manager in a coaching institute will definitely not give you any compelling advantage. I won't say it's a disadvantage, but that's no brownie points there. Mokshit Reddy, I'm not able to attempt more questions in quants and DLR, but I have good accuracy. That's a brilliant place to start. Don't lose your accuracy going for speed. Hang on to this being particular about accuracy. Over time, speed will naturally increase. Rough rule of thumb, you have 4 months remaining. You're probably going to take 20-25 mocks seriously from now to the exam. If you're attempting X questions per mock now, it could go up easily as high as 1.5x. So don't let accuracy go out of the window. Your score can go up by 50% or more from now. If you're already in a good place, it'll go up by 50%. But if you're practically taking your first mock now, it'll go even more. Right? Gaurav Nagar, 2-year drop, any hope if I get the percentile? If you get the percentile, you'll get the call. At the call level, it's a black box. Your 10 standard mark, 12 standard mark, UG score, work experience, CAT score. At that level, the black box doesn't really account for someone with a 1-year drop or a 2-year drop or a 3-year drop. It's only when you go to the interview level that they ask you, dude, there's a gap in your CV. You graduated in 2016. You have 1 year of experience. You've taken CAT in 2020. What happened to the other 3 years? And then you'll have to meaningfully fill it. And you can't say I quit and then I was trying different things. And so the different things have to be meaningful, different things where you have something to show for them. And so, but that question comes up only in phase 2. It's not going to bother in any way for CAT or for getting the damn call. Keep it in mind. Some free newspapers or magazines like Guardian. Guardian is wonderful. Fine. The Atlantic, see, some many newspapers give you 3 articles free if you sign in. An Economist gives, the Atlantic gives, New York Times gives 3 articles a month if you sign up. Right? So if you just sign up for 4 of these, you get 12 articles. Chances are you're not going to bother reading more than 12 articles from these publications in a month anyway. And if you find one more wonderful email address and an incognito server and you get 3 more, you're covered. Right? So the cost is not crippling if you can move the right paces and read only the free articles. I've covered all topics, still only getting 8 to 9 right questions in mocks. Please suggest something. If it's accuracy is an issue, revisit fundamentals, do slower. If speed is an issue, get tons of practice. The 2IM test dojo could be the thing that fills your gap. Have tons of questions coming and hitting you one after the other with detailed solutions. You do the drill, do 150 questions, 200 questions, 500 questions, 700 questions. When your mind starts making connections automatically, your speed will start creeping up. I don't understand the full article even after reading. Don't worry, stuff happens. I've read tons of books and stuff. I hit a rut and I'm caught in the middle of a very long, nice article where I don't understand everything. It happens. One thing I can guarantee for sure, the more you read, the better you get. That is bleeding obvious. But if you read 2 articles a day from now till November 29, I can tell you, I can bet my bottom dollar that you will be able to read 4 passages in CAT RC and understand most of them. And that's all you need. So put your head down, keep on reading. Don't read hyperactively. Very often we read in an exam context all the time. I've seen students do it. They'll read something and they'll take notes and they'll scribble, they'll channel stuff into their brain and then actively remember numbers, dates, details and all that. You're not preparing for a general knowledge quiz with fill in the blanks questions. You're preparing to write an exam where reading between the lines, getting the crux of it, getting the idea of what the author is saying, getting a certain nuance about it matters. And if you're continuously reading either too quickly or being particularly inner about detail, you'll miss the reading between the lines part. So read passively, read without having this enormous pressure to remember and register and codify. Read for fun, read for leisure, read to take in stuff. If you're watching a movie and you want to read a review, you want to smile at how somebody has ripped apart a movie, do that. The frame of mind you will have when you're reading something funny right in your preferred topic. Be in that frame of mind when you're reading anything. Fine. In DLR, I get bogged down by the number of constraints. Tell me about it. I hate them as well. Where there are more than 9, 10, 11 constraints, I hate them. My mind can't wind around the whole thing and I get lost and bugged rapidly. So I've told myself, it has 11, 12 constraints and I'll skip that. Maybe that'll work. Best source for solving RC and VA course questions, the best questions, the standout best questions and passages are the ones that have appeared in CAT. The standout best material to read comes from Bharat's list. This apart, if you want, and then hit the freely available content at 2 am, then go through the RC section. Between those two, you might have it covered. Narrowing down to 2 options, but I mostly end up selecting the wrong option. So there's a separate video for that. I'll see if I can find the link and give it to you. This is Vineet Kumar, or drop it in comments. One of us will give you the link. But most crucial point there, selecting between the last 2 choices. Usually the guys who create RC content select one nice middling correct answer, which ticks boxes, and then they create an appealing wrong answer, which is juicy, which hits the spot. You feel like it. You feel like, yeah, this can work. This is the crux. And then create something to disqualify that. They extrapolate something that's not shared in the passage. They exaggerate. They make one additional needless non-mentioned claim. So they do something to disqualify the juicier answer choice. So look to eliminate. Look at the choice, read it again and say, is there something that these buggers have planted to make it look right, or there's something they've planted to completely disqualify it? So keep that in mind. It'll work. Best book for quant. If you want a inexpensive option, you look at the 2 am question bank. The slightly more expensive option is Test Dojo, and you want to hit the entire quant section, 2 am quant. I don't know which book per se is great, because I'm more reliant on online sources. Hit the 2 am question bank. It's a brilliant place to start. Can you make a video on strategy to prepare for 2021 CAT? Not different. Not any different from here. Here, right now, we are sitting here and saying how many mocks you should take. If you're preparing for 2021, read away to glory. Your VRC is covered. Learn as much as possible from first principles. Don't worry about question selection, tough questions, easy questions, any of that. Build your mind to get geared towards processing quicker and better. And so do more and more first principles based stuff. 4 months IM ABC possible, most definitely. As far as a tick mark for possibilities there, it is there. I can tell you that much. Likelihood, it's completely in your hands. Giving yourself a chance That is completely in your hands. Make sure that you throw in all the effort. Good. Bharat says leading looks way too tough to read. Of course. Some of the passages that he gives are complex ideas, well written, and long elaborate pieces. So it hits three different ideas. The idea is tough when they're talking about something very insightful. I don't know the topic enough, so to get to their level of belief, of intuitive grasp of the topic is a while. The language is tough. The English language is tough. And the passage is long. So sometimes if I read in one stretch, I feel burnt out. I feel tired. And so, but he's doing that. He's handpicking that and giving it to you so that you get tired and you get burnt out now. But your mind gets used to joining the dots. I don't understand philosophy. I don't understand happiness principle. I've never heard that. But I'm having to read that. My mind draws that connection. I don't understand this word utopian or dystopian. But I'm making some assumption and going along. So your mind learns to draw connections and make assumptions on the way. And staying there for long builds your stamina. So of course it is tough. It is meant to be tough. So hang in there. Is it necessary to prepare for verbal ability? Of course, yes, no doubt about it. But raw reading, forms about 90% of preparation for the verbal ability section. So if you're reading, you're preparing. Facing difficulty while revising and learning on same day, can't handle both. Do it on alternate days. That's the easiest fix. Very often I find students saying, having this problem. I come back to a topic and I realize I've completely forgotten that happens. You have to revisit. You have to spiral your way towards a comfort zone. You do percentages, profit and loss, ratios, mixtures. You should hit percentages. You say speed time, races, profit and loss, ratios, mixtures. Then pipes and cistern, speed time distance, percentages. You have to iterate and keep revisiting. Our mind is an enormously good set of muscles to take in stuff. It's also volatile. So if you don't revisit, it'll just fly out. I can tell you that if you revisit once and the first time you revisit, sometimes it feels like I'm reading this all over again. I don't have any of the connections that I thought I had built. Stuff happens. But second time around, your mind automatically does stuff better and quicker, even though you don't realize it. Third time, the connections fall in place much more naturally. You do a bunch of questions, you're good to go. But you have to learn iteratively. You do topic 1, 2, 3, 4, you're back to 1, 2, 5, 6, 3, 4, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 9, 10, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2. You keep on revisiting. You'll get better and better. Don't assume that you've learned it once, the whole thing stays in your mind. It won't. It's volatile. One mock per week is sufficient. 1 mock per week is a good rate now. Closer to the exam, you should probably amp it up to 2 mocks per week. 1 mock per week is completely fine. So right now so if say August and September you take 1 mock per week, October you take 2 per week, November maybe even 3 per week. So that's why you can amp up completely before the exam. How to revise? Do we revise only the concept or practice questions? Both. You have to revise the funda, you have to do a bunch of questions. Revising consolidates the concept. Practicing builds the speed. The speed aspect and automation aspect reinforces the fundamental aspect. So they work together. You've got to do both. Stuck between 70 to 80th percentile, hang in there. 80th percentile, the score from now, what you get for 80th percentile, I'm telling you, you can take it up 40%. If you just do everything over and over again, become a creature of habit, keep on doing it intensely, turning up, it'll naturally go up by 40%. I'm hitting 50 plus in both quant and DLR, but VRC is a nightmare. Brilliant. 50 plus in DLR is brilliant. In quant, it's very good. VRC is a nightmare. VRC could be a nightmare because of an accuracy issue if you have reading comfort. So focus on that. Tell yourself that I'm not going to take a chance. Don't tell yourself that this is tough. Tell yourself that, look, there's only one answer. I'm getting it. Be particular. You can make a mental adjustment and say, from today or today, I'm going to be particular about accuracy. And that's going to change my score. It will hang in there. DA is tough for me. What to do? practice, practice, practice. Tons of practice with a lot of variety. Don't let the variety angle go away. Do tons of practice and with variety, and go through the solution. Very often I find DLR students doing this. They look at a DLR puzzle, they try. If it comes, it comes. If it doesn't come, they go to the next one, which is good in an exam context. But you're learning practice alone in your own style, it's not good enough. So you probably have a gap in one style of puzzles. If you look at the guy who's created that question and find out the way he's solving it, the way he says you have to start with the fifth constraint, that's a magic ticket here to open this up. And he might say, I planted the fifth constraint there because if I'd kept it anywhere else, people would have found it easy to pick. Then you get an insight into how that guy is thinking. So the solution detail really matters. As a rule of thumb, the learning happens from reading the solutions, not from the quality of the questions. And so if you find question books, material without solutions, dump them. And sometimes even when students ask me questions from this mock and that book and this series, usually answer them, but sometimes I get pissed. The guy who created that question did not bother giving you a detailed solution, and I'm doing his job for you, and I don't like that. I keep telling them, look, if the solution is not good, then he doesn't care enough about his job. You should be buying a different book on that thing. Learning advantage comes from detailed, wonderful, insightful, intuitive solutions. So sometimes we want to be hit by questions. There's a challenge kick that comes from doing tougher and tougher questions, but it plateaus out, it disappears. You need to have the learning gap being fixed by getting into the head of the guys who are getting it right and seeing how they are approaching it. I've seen some of my friends do it brilliantly, and so they've sat right next to the guy who's cracked the top percentile and see how he's working. They've looked at his paper and seen how he has scribbled, seen his score split across time. Then they've told themselves, okay, this guy, we thought he was massively better than I was. He's not. He's just not losing any time between one thing and the other. He's maxing up his intensity, and that's working like a charm for him. And then they work their way backwards to finding those tricks and applying the relevant ones for them. They've amped it up. So see that. So the solution gives you an insight into how the guy who has cracked it is thinking. And there is a certain gap, which is why something is taking you 34 minutes, whereas this guy has done it in 12-13 minutes. Fine. So he's not doing what you are doing quicker. He's doing something else. He's thinking about it differently. He's going about it in some other way. You can't keep tweaking how good you are in your own method and go from 34 minutes to 12 minutes. You can go from 34 to 28. 34 to 12 is a giant leap. That's going to happen only if you figure out what is his thought process, which is going to come from the solution. If the social solutions are average or not detailed enough, chuck the provider. Does 2IM provide DLR sets to practice? Of course, yes. We provide not a few. We provide about 100 plus DLR sets with detailed video solutions and slide solutions as part of the course. And then 2x or 2.5x this much as part of the test series, which again with detailed solutions. So if you said I'm going to do 3 DLR sets every day from here till the exam, you'll have material from 2IM to provide you for that. There are tons of good questions there. Facing hell of a lot of difficulty in VRC despite reading too much. There is no reading too much, no too much business. Read away to glory and hang in there. If you have you should have a smile on your face and keep doing it. You should have the grit to say, okay, I'm doing the right things. It'll come in place. So I don't know if you've heard this, I'm sure you've heard the name, this guy called VVS Laxman, who played for India. He's a fabulous batsman. He played one of the best innings against Australia. It was fantastic. But you won't believe it. He had a tough time getting into the team. So till he hit the 281, he was not a dead cert. He was not a confirmed player in the Indian team. Before the 281, he had hit in 167. I think it was in Sydney or Perth. I think it was Sydney against a fabulous Australian attack. We lost the match. We lost the match miserably. But it's a wonderful knock. Notwithstanding that, he was dropped a bunch of times. And so The last time he was dropped, he played as an opener for India quite a few times. And should look this up. When he was dropped for the time, there was a phase in the middle where he didn't have a breakthrough into the Indian team. Basically because he was a middle order batsman. An Indian middle order had Ganguly, Dravid, Tendulkar. Just before them in the previous era was Azharuddin. It's also obviously a fabulous player, but the big three, these were the big three. So if India played with 5 bowlers, then there's no slot for the 6th guy. Or you're scrambling for one slot. And there are 7 guys who are scrambling for it. Laxman went to Ranji Trophy and set records ablaze. Ranji Trophy was no longer his big challenge, but he scored something like 7-8 centuries in 12 matches, with a couple of them being double centuries, triple centuries. There was no way he could be dropped. And on the back of that, he came to the Indian team, and that's where his Laxman Mark II started. That's the face the Australians remember, because he destroyed them over and over and over again. And so he was out of it. He was, for the man who's so supremely talented that he could score a lightning quick century at a fast Australian pitch as an opener out of his batting slot. He was out of the team for such a long time, but he on the back of a ton of runs of doing a bunch of things over and over again, he came back into the team. If your scores are not improving, if you're having a gap in geometry, in algebra, in a specific type of DLR you don't do, go back. If your VRC is not good enough, read 3 novels in 10 days. And so read voraciously, read with a vengeance. It will move up. It will go up. Read good quality stuff. Don't read guff. Don't read nonsense. But read good quality stuff, but tons of it. It will go up. If you're quant, you have a weakness in geometry, hit 10 hours worth of geometry classes and solve 200 questions. How can it not go up? It will go up. But set yourself ridiculous, ambitious targets of solving and cracking. And that will take you places. Don't work backwards from your ambition point. Work forwards from what your effort should be. How to increase speed in mocks? Relentless practice, better question selection. Practice automates processes, which is good. Which is good for 2 things, because 1, you get speed in solving. 2, you don't get tired. Fatigue is a huge factor. And then in exam context, there's a certain element of question selection savvy which is phenomenally useful. And so the better guys at question selection are naturally quicker. They're not getting sucked into the silly DLR that you and I do. They know that that's not worth their time. So from a mock point of view, focus on question selection. From a preparation point of view, do tons of practice. Speed will naturally go up. What is good quality stuff? Read Bharat's reading list is good quality stuff. It's gold. There's a video on our YouTube channel which says best good suggested books to read. There's one which says suggested blogs to read. You get onto Bharat's curated kind of suggestions list. In a week, you'll know his best sources. You spend 2 weeks there, you'll know the top 5 places he's picking up articles from. Do that. Or you go to Bharat's list, there are 400 good quality articles. That's gold. Which novels are good? Good novels to read, 2 IM. Google that on YouTube, you'll find that. In retaining information at logical table based TI, what should be my approach? Write down, get tons of practice. Your RAM expands. And so when our mind has a processor on a RAM and a hard drive, and speaking our computer lingo, your processor is how quickly can you do 7 into 11. And your RAM is, suppose you're multiplying a 3-digit number by a 2-digit number. Some guys multiply and hold the carryover in their brain so that it can be held there, that the next step comes, they can bring it back. So the RAM part of the part is not working well, where if you put everything in a table and then you've just jotted down something, but your mind is not holding on to that information. So if you're holding on to a constraint in your mind, when you see another constraint that kind of marries with it and gives away something, it automatically draws the connection. But if your mind is not retaining that, then your RAM is light. The more you practice, the more the RAM. Holding temporary stuff in the brain is an art. And it happens only if you practice aggressively. Do that. Curated list is great. Thumbs up. Yeah, me too. I'm completely. Aeon is good. Aeon is good. Are George Orwell books good enough? Of course they are. Benchmark writer, go for it. I'm taking a lot of time to answer RCs, but I'm correct. If you're correct, you're doing the right thing. Speed will naturally go up. Don't worry about it. From quants, which are the topics that form basis of DLR? Percentages. Ratio, proportion, linear equations, maybe, but percentages. That's the mothership. How to make notes while reading an RC in Mark. Don't bother too much with notes. Read slowly. Your mind has to retain. If you read tons of stuff, the RAM will expand. So I was saying, and you will naturally remember the highlights from each passage. Right? I'm going to just take maybe 2-3 more questions. We're running out of time. I quite enjoyed myself as always. I hope you guys also took something of value. Is trigonometry important? Yes, but not uber crucial. Mainly because trigonometry, let's not lend itself, is not fundamental for some other topic. It's kind of standalone. Geometry helps with trigonometry, but trigonometry is not crucial for 4 other topics. So 1-2 questions tops. If you're not at all comfortable, you can dump that. How to summarize the RC passage effectively? Get lots of practice. You'll get better at this. You'll get naturally start understanding what is the crux of a passage. And so more specifically, the summary part has to focus on the most important part and has to be comprehensive when you're looking at a multiple choice based thing. Sometimes there's a choice which is very juicy but doesn't cover everything. A choice that covers more than what is mentioned. Those are the ones that you're looking to eliminate. Identifying tough DI questions. You mean identifying easy DI questions? Is there a skill to that? Oh my God, there is a beautiful video on the 2IM channel. You say DLR selection for in CAT and put Bharat or 2IM. You'll get that. Bharat is taken through how to select the best passages and best DI puzzles, DLR puzzles standalone. It's a wonderful video to look at. Please do check that. Can I dump number system now? You can, but I would still say it's too early. There's 120 days. You spend 8-10 hours, you can get the hang of number systems. You don't need to do the really tough part, but you get the hang of it. And number systems is a fun topic to do. So there's no reason to dump this early. If you asked me the same question on October 1, I'd have said, look, dump, don't even spend that time. But now you have time. You can try to get it. I get really exhausted by the time I reach the QA section. Yeah, that is a challenge. Which is why I'm dead against doing section test, mocks in parts. The challenge of mock is sitting there for 3 hours. You take 4 mocks, then you're good. This fatigue will drop. You take 5, 6, 7 more, fatigue will disappear. Fine, but that fatigue is a factor. You have to train your mind to hang in there for 3 hours. It's nothing but practice that helps. One of our guys, he had this problem. He used to get tired. And then he said, look, I'm going to take 4-hour exams. I'm going to take a mock after I've taken a 1-hour test. Some of our guys have been crazy enough to take back-to-back mocks. Not good, not advisable. It's not great. It doesn't give you any value. The scores are irrelevant. But if once in your life you've sat for 6 hours to take this, then 3 hours starts looking reasonable. Fine. So 6 hours is the pain. But once you do 1-hour paper and then a 3-hour mock, you hang in there at 3 hours 55-minute mark, you're good. So push yourself. It is possible. Fine. The simple trick that I like is like what the cricketers use as a cheat code for when a new batsman comes or a new bowler comes. So Rahul Dravid was very clear when he changes bat or has a break in the session or a new bowler comes or he hits a milestone, he would take guard again. So taking guard was a brain reset for him. He said, look, we got to concentrate all over again. For me, when I see myself slipping, I take 10 seconds off, take a deep breath, look into middle distance and say, bam, switch on again and do. So you've got to create your cues that can make your mind refocus completely. I used to play football very seriously. I was fitness-wise pathetic. My captain was in college. This is a hostel captain, very amateur level football, but he was a brilliant guy. He was a leader. He was a nice guy, but he was a captain. So he would know on the field that I was switching off. So when both of us were midfielders. I was a young midfielder who didn't have the stamina or the fitness. He was a captain of the team governing the play from center of the park. But when he's tracking back, he would look at me and say, So I had to not let him down. So I had to keep coming back. So you'll have to find some artificial thing to make yourself trudge up and down, or equivalent of trudging up and down on a football field. You have to find that kicker somewhere where you turn up time after time after time. Maybe it's for someone else, but that could be a good motivation. You don't want to let down somebody else. But find some marker that makes you turn up over and over again. Should I study for 3 hours at a stretch? Definitely. The small hits work, small chunks work, good. But if you can hang in there for long chunks, 3-hour chunks, that's brilliant. Venn diagram in quants is important. Look, it's not so crucial, but learning Venn diagrams is one of the more fun things you'll do in your life. And you'll start seeing things in terms of Venn diagram. And so the whole world I would categorize a set of things that fly and things that are important. CAT preparation, things that get a lot of views on YouTube, things that are crucial. There's only a very mild intersection. Things that are useful are not the ones that are marketable. One of the glorious challenges for people in the industry like us. I can do a bunch of things that are massive hits because we know what people want to hear and what they want to listen to. But I don't agree to that because I don't think that's that crucial. And so we have to find that balance. Forget that. That's a question for another day. But things that are fun, things that are important, things that fly. 3 sets. And so you can imagine things in terms of sets and Venn diagram and imagine how they are constructed, where there'll be an overlap, what is an intersection, what does the union mean, all of that. And so it's a fun topic to study. It's the least mathematical of math topiks. This is logical construct mostly. So don't dump Venn diagram. Venn diagram is fun. Why would you dump? Good practice sources for LR. What am I going to say? 2IIM question bank, previous year CAT papers. Both have a big overlap. So hit 2IIM question bank, you'll see previous year papers as well. Wonderful, guys. I think we've had a nice, good, long session. I'm going to sign off with saying best wishes. Throw everything in. 120 days to go. Very crackable exam. Put yourself out there and put massive, massive high targets for effort. Not for results, not for target, not for a notional percentile number, not for where you want to be, but how much you will throw in. Put massive targets for that, and you achieve that. I can tell you, hand on heart, if your percentile goes 2 percentile points here and there, you won't regret too much. Fine. Best wishes and cheers.